Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to trace a path from the visible surface of everyday civic life in Minnesota, straight down to the deep, impenetrable bedrock of its administrative and financial machinery. Think of your local government like a massive iceberg. What we see on the surface, the parks, the roads, the public notices, that's literally just the tip. But hidden right beneath the water is this colossal, churning, invisible infrastructure of rules, schedules, translations, and accounting that keeps the entire state functioning.
So here's our map for today's descent. 1. Speaking every citizen's language. 2. Inside the state register. 3. The rulemaking labyrinth. And 4. Tracking the financial bottom line.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, Speaking Every Citizen's Language, the visible tip of the iceberg.
Okay, let's dive into this. This right here is where the government attempts to connect with the public on an everyday, accessible level. What we're looking at is a page from the Let's Talk Three Rivers website. It's the public interface for the Three Rivers Park District. Specifically, they're sharing documents for their 5-year capital improvement program spanning 2023 to 2027. Basically, this is the government trying to be a good neighbor. They're inviting you, the resident, to look at what they're planning to build, fix, and improve in your local parks over the next half-decade. It feels super friendly, straightforward, and highly visible. But the moment we look a little closer at the tools they use to achieve this friendly outreach, well, we get our very first glimpse of the massive machinery humming just beneath the surface.
Seriously, look closer at the sheer scale of the translation options provided on that exact same Park District webpage. You might expect a public website in Minnesota to offer Spanish, maybe French or Somali. But this Google Translate widget offers an absolutely incredible list of languages. We are talking about everything from Abkhaz, Acholi, and Amhara all the way down the alphabet to Asosa, Yosa, Ugatekmaya, Zapotec, and Zulu. They are offering immediate translation into well over 100 languages, including Cebuano, Hmong, and even Esperanto. It is genuinely fascinating to see the extreme lengths the district goes to ensure absolute public accessibility. It's not just about, offering a document. It's about deploying a massive technological net to guarantee that literally every conceivable citizen is spoken to in their own language.
Moving on to Section 2, Inside the State Register, Descending into the Administrative Deep. All right, we are officially leaving the friendly, translated surface of the Park District behind us. When you want to see the actual operational core of the state's executive branch, you look for this symbol, the Great Seal of the State of Minnesota. Established in 1858, proudly bearing the motto, L'Étoile du Nord, the Star of the North. Let me tell you, when a document carries this seal, it immediately establishes a serious, highly official tone. This seal is splashed right across the cover of the Minnesota State Register, which is the official publication of the state's executive branch. This is definitely not a friendly park brochure. This is the heavy, authoritative ledger of state power. And this brilliantly illustrates the reality of the bureaucratic machine. We're looking at Volume 37, Number 52, published on Monday, June 24, 2013. The State Register is this relentless, churning engine managed by the Plant Management Division, and it operates on an incredibly strict schedule. Just look at the printing schedule. It is published every single Monday, or Tuesday if Monday happens to be a holiday. And get a load of those submission deadlines. If an agency wants to propose a rule, adopt a rule, or issue an official notice, they have to hit exact to-the-minute deadlines, like noon Wednesday, June 19th for the July 1st issue. Plus, submissions must be received electronically in Microsoft Word format, and state agencies have to include specific forms like a state register printing order or a contract certification. It is a rigid, clockwork operation that absolutely waits for no one.
Which brings us to Section 3, the rulemaking labyrinth, the dense code that runs the state.
Now this is where we look at the specialized code that dictates exactly how the state operates. If you want to understand the life cycle of government action, you have to understand these steps. A rule doesn't just magically appear out of thin air. No way. It has to fight its way through the system. First, agencies publish proposed rules. This is where they draft the regulation and put it out there for comment. Then, after surviving the absolute crucible of public feedback and being rewritten into their final form, they emerge victorious as adopted rules, the brand new law of the land. And occasionally, for short-term or super urgent matters, you're going to see expedited or exempt rules bypassing that standard marathon to get into the books fast. It is a rigorous, multi-stage life cycle that every single piece of state regulation has to survive.
But this doesn't just happen in some secret vacuum. Notice how this document outlines the legally mandated process under Minnesota statutes, Chapter 14.
An agency has to first solicit comments on planned rules from the public. They publish a notice at least 60 days before a hearing or a notice to adopt. So yeah, this is a massive, complex system. But you, the citizen, are legally invited to read it, follow it, and comment on it. It's essentially an open labyrinth, provided you know how to read the map.
And look at how this builds across the entire government apparatus. In just this single weekly volume of the State Register from June 24, 2013, check out the astonishing array of agencies that are simultaneously updating their codes. We've got the Animal Health Board regulating livestock. We have the Dentistry Board updating licenses for limited general dentists. The Pollution Control Agency is proposing rules on wastewater and stormwater treatment. The Department of Corrections is overhauling its regulations, and the Natural Resources Department is designating new scientific and natural areas and managing hunting seasons. Literally, in one single week, the machine is simultaneously managing dentists, prisoners, wastewater, and all-terrain vehicles.
To truly grasp the mind-boggling scale of this paperwork, just look at how the Minnesota Rules Index tracks the changes for the Animal Health Board alone in this volume. The proposed rules are meticulously numbered: 1721.0010, .0020, .0030, .0034, .0040, and on and on and on. This single sequence of microscopic adjustments continues for dozens upon dozens of subclauses, just for one set of rules for one board in 1 week's publication. The sheer volume of bureaucratic categorization is honestly almost absurd in its density.
All right, final stop. Section 4, tracking the financial bottom line, the bedrock of the system. So we've seen the public languages, the state seals, and the endless rule numbers. Now we hit the absolute bedrock of the system. Listen to this sentence fragment from the Hennepin County 2023 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. Results in the reporting of all inflows, outflows, and balances affecting or reflecting the county's net position. I know, it is incredibly dry, but it's arguably the single most important sentence in the entire state. Because really, this is what it all comes down to. On one side, we have the bureaucratic machinery, the 100-plus translation languages, the rigid Monday printing schedules, the thousands of meticulously categorized rule changes spanning from dentistry all the way to wastewater. But all of those overwhelming lists, regulations, and public interfaces ultimately exist to serve one mundane but absolutely vital purpose on the other side, balancing the community's books and protecting its net position. Every single rule written, every park bench improved, every notice published is just an inflow or an outflow that must be perfectly balanced in the grand ledger of the local government.
So, I'll leave you with this thought. The next time you walk through a beautifully maintained local park, or you happen to glance at a seemingly simple public notice translated into your language, will you just see the surface, or will you see the hidden machinery? Will you imagine the strict deadlines, the thousands of numbered statutes, and the precise calculations of the net position constantly grinding away right beneath your feet to make that simple walk in the park possible? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep looking below the surface, and I'll catch you next time.